I want to welcome everybody to episode 15 of Spirits Week. I really hope everyone's able to have a glass of their favorite pour with me tonight as we take a look at a staple of the bourbon world, Bulleit Frontier Bourbon. Like most bourbon brands, the history of Bulleit is a little on the hazy side. Supposedly, all the way back in the 1830s, a guy by the name of Augustus Bulleit started distilling bourbon in Kentucky. And he disappears around the 1860s, as does his bourbon. His descendant, though, is a guy by the name of Tom Bulleit. And Tom Bulleit began to offer Bulleit brand bourbon in the mid 1980s. And he followed a lot of his several times great grandfather's tradition of using a high rye mash bill. Now, the original mash bill was something like 2/3 rye to a third corn. That's technically whiskey, that's not bourbon. The newest version of Bulleit, the one that's produced today, does not have that. It follows the bourbon guideline. It's at least 51% corn. I'll talk about that mash bill here in just a moment. Bulleit operated for about 10 years, and then Seagram's bought them out, and then they were purchased by the spirits giant Diageo in about the year 2000. And throughout all of that ownership, Bulleit was a sourced bourbon. In other words, they got their juice from someplace else. And there's such a layer of non-disclosure acts on who did what. We don't know who really actually made their bourbon for them. What we do know is in 2016, Bulleit began producing their own juice. So anything out there with that 10-year Bulleit label on it is still a sourced bourbon. Probably the bourbon in this bottle more than likely is made by Diageo at the Bulleit distillery today. And I said a while ago we come back to their mash bill. It is 68% corn, so it's a high corn. It's a high rye, 28% rye. So almost a third of this is a rye, and that leaves 4% left over for the barley recipe. And it comes in at 90 proof. So it's right there on that easy drinking 90 proof line. I'm using my Bulleit Frontier Bourbon glass tonight. Nifty little glass in a gift set. In the glass, it looks really good. It's got a nice light amber color. The bottle's a little bit darker, and I think it has to do with that orange label. It makes it look darker, more of a coppery color. But in the glass, it comes out to be a nice amber, almost a honey color. It's really pretty. It's got nice fat sugar lines. The legs look great, and they're real thick. So this is a really neat looking bourbon in the glass. And it smells great in the glass, too. Got a lot of rich oak scents here. You have some sweet smells followed by spice. What are those sweet smells? I hate to keep saying vanilla and butterscotches, but that really is a lot. But it's just a really sweet, oaky smell, kind of like a fresh cut oak log almost. And you do get some spice on it. Hey, 28% rye, you're going to get the spice. And on the taste, sweet and spicy, definitely, with spice predominating. There's some sort of dark note here. I can't quite identify it. I don't want to say a dark chocolate, but it's something along those lines. It's some dark, sweet taste. It's got a nice little rye taste to it, a little bit of cinnamon. I've always kind of thought that Bulleit would put a lot of people off with the spice. And probably I would say to those people, put a few drops of water in it. It'll smooth it out. I didn't do that. I enjoy the rye finish on this. I enjoy the rye spice. So I did not do that today. But if you're trying Bulleit, you might want to put a couple of drops of water in it, and it'll really smooth it out and open up those other flavors. The finish is awesome. Get that great Kentucky hug on this one. It's a nice long burn. It's spicy. I kind of feel like it mellows though and becomes kind of creamy and oaky as that finish burns off. So it's kind of layered taste there. Overall, I think this is a really satisfying bourbon to sip on. This is probably not one you're going to slam back a couple of times and that's it. This is one to sit and savor and sip. I think those notes really start to appear as you sip this more and more. I've done this for about an hour now, so I'm catching a lot of that as it mellows. The tastes really kind of blend. I do know that the primary market for this is a $30 bottle, roughly. You know, some places will have it for 27, some for 32, 36, somewhere in that neighborhood. But, you know, this is primarily, let's call it a $30 bottle. This is for that entry level drinker who wants a little more spice than your typical $30 bourbons offer. I also know that they market this a lot to the bartender crowd. They want them to use this as a mixer. It's going to stand up really well in those cocktails, the Manhattans, the old fashions. That rye spice really, you know, stands up and begs to be noticed with those other flavors once you mingle it with a cocktail. Since I like this, I do, and it's got a really cool finish to it. I'm going to give this a 4.25 stars on the Karl scale. The only thing that really holds me back is I like a little darker than that honey color. It's really pretty, but I'd like to see a dark amber or copper color on that. It really, I think, make it look great. I also think the complexity of taste is not quite there. Yes, I went on about, you know, the dark chocolate, maybe or maybe not, a little cinnamon. It just could be a little deeper taste to it, I think. So 4.25 stars, though, is what I'm going to rate Bulleit Frontier Bourbon. I do have a question for everybody tonight, though. I kind of have the rest of the week planned out. We're going to look at a couple of bourbons from our friends at Barrel 131, and I'm going to end with kind of a special bottle on Friday night. But I'd kind of like to know what everyone would like to see next week. Give me some suggestions in the text chain down below. And if I have it, I'll break it out and we'll try it. We'll do a Karl review, see what kind of happens here. Also, maybe share with us what you're drinking while we do these. I think that's kind of the fun of this, is if we can all kind of sit around and talk about what we're having. Maybe make it a little more interactive. I have thought about doing a virtual happy hour one evening. I don't know what time would be best for everyone. Is it 5 o'clock? Is it 9 o'clock? I don't know. That could be in the AM or the PM. It's up to you guys. Let me know what everybody thinks. But as always, please stay safe, peace, and happy pours always.